You Dead Homie are back to the future in their 90s inspired side project. There they go right there at the Dim Carnival.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dim Carnival. I'm Bill.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Ryan.
And we're back. Just when you thought it was safe to go back in the toilet. Remember Ghoulies? Anyway.
Oh, yeah, I loved Ghoulies. So my dad took me to the video store. My parents were separated when I was a kid, and so I spent weekends with my dad, and we regularly go to the video store. And he meant to get Goonies. Later, we figured out he meant to get Goonies, but what he got was Ghoulies. And that was an interesting night, man, because I was probably like 8, you know, and
such a better movie too.
Well, it was very scary for me, but I did also love it. So
my only experience with Ghoulies is I was in the Alpha Beta supermarket, and I saw the Ghoulies was on a display near the cash register, or like at the front of the store, and I was a little kid, and I don't think it's been established here, I was like terrified of everything when I was a kid. So I saw this scary movie of a ghoulie popping up out the toilet, and I was horrified. And then for at least a week or two, I was just like checking the toilet like big time before going to the pot. Because I was like, oh, what if there's a ghoulie in there? I was a little kid, in my defense. This was not like last week. I was not an Alpha Beta last week.
Man, I miss Alpha Beta. Did your Alpha Beta have a weird turnstile entrance?
Oh, fucking course it did, dude.
Hell yeah, man. What happened to those days? Why would you have that?
To those days, they seem so hard to find. Yeah.
But speaking of back in the days,
had a turnstile too.
Which one?
The Woolworth.
Oh, the Woolworths. I think we had a Woolworth.
Our Woolworth had a little peep show, but for kids. It was a little cartoon booth where you went in and you dropped a quarter in. You could watch the Heckle and Jekyll.
I remember that.
If you probably guessed by now, we're talking about Drive-By Pony Down this week. If you're joining us, the assignment was to listen to the debut quote unquote EP by Drive-By, which is a musical act comprised of Blaze Ya Dead Homie and Anybody Killa, the fearsome twosome that we've come to know and love. Joined at the hip, these two guys, and this is their first release as a standalone act as Drive-By. It's called an EP for some reason, even though the reissue has 12 tracks on it, is like 38 minutes long. Like, in my world, that's an album. Like, it's very funny to me. I don't know if we've talked about this before. It's very funny to me that is it because that it takes so little time relatively to make a rap album that, like, if someone's like, there's only like 42 minutes worth of material and let's just call it an EP, whereas a 42-minute like pop punk CD would be like, oh my god, there's like 25 tracks.
Right, it's an entire discography. Well, okay, so I didn't look up too much information about this, but I know is there 12 tracks or 14? 12 tracks?
There's 10 tracks.
Okay, 10 and then 12.
Yeah, so there was a 10-track release and then a re-release with 2 additional tracks. But when I looked up, I don't know if it was on like Discogs or Amazon. I was reading the reviews in Amazon or something like that, and somebody mentioned that it's worth picking up even though it's only 6 tracks. Like, I wonder if there was the first early release was only 6 tracks, maybe.
I don't think so. I think maybe maybe some other drive-by
Different
EP.
drive-by? Okay.
So this came out in 2005. This was released on Psychopathic Records on October 1st, 2005. Drive-by has 3 additional releases. Back on the Block, there are 2 versions of this that came out in 2013. There was a CD EP and a 12-inch EP. Then Run These Streets EP in 2014, and then For the OGs EP in 2019. So they've put out 4 EPs, which I can only imagine comprises something like 6 hours worth of material.
What is the 2019? Is that on MEE?
I think all 3 of those other releases are on M&A, but I'm not sure. I just closed that tab, so thanks.
Actually, I have their Wikipedia open up. I could probably.
Well, I think they don't have a combined Wikipedia. No, I'm sorry. All 3 of those came out on Grundy Entertainment and Native World Inc. So they were self-released by
those 2
Blaze and ABK on both of their labels that they apparently have.
Right.
Because M&E was like not M&E, the company of let's do Psychopathic Writers without ICP. Let's do Black Lotus without ICP. They're like, no, we're cool without Drive-By.
Well, I don't know. It's because it's a 90s act.
Yeah, let's talk about this, huh? So Pony Down, Prelude. Prelude to what, you may ask?
I was so confused.
We're still waiting.
They're like, yeah, the full length still hasn't come out. A full length album, 15 years in the making.
Right, it's going to be 3 anthologies of LP. If you have a 12-track EP as your prelude, I mean, how long is the album?
So this album is produced by Cat and Supervillains, who will be making an appearance later. It is according to Wikipedia, the EP's sound is based on old school hip hop,
Yeah.
Which it's actually a throwback to 90s hip hop, I would say.
Correct.
To me, it sounds mostly like the West Coast, like gangster rap, right? Like the Dre style. That's what it sounds like the most to me. But I'm also not as versed in hip hop as, say, Ryan. So I don't know if Ryan checked out who sampled or if he has opinions on the musical stylings of this album. But it's basically just a straightforward thing about these guys being on the streets, wearing pony shoes and black khakis and hanging out, getting real high. And that's it. That's the whole thing.
I agree with almost every single thing that you said. The parts where I disagree is I definitely hear the West Coast influence. I think that they're really pulling from I think they're pulling from several different regions to sort of try to replicate an overall 90s feel. That there's definitely the West Coast, more like this high.
Roll it up. Northern lights took me straight to the sky. Wait, never ain't no life been this high.
Light it up.
I think that I can fly. Hold up, I'm about to try. Wait, never ain't no life been this
Is the one that I think of that has a little more West Coast sound.
And of course, that one goes, I'm this high.
And I'm never going to come back down. Yeah, so it definitely feels like 90s, and there's a lot of there's some nostalgia that I felt listening to it.
Well, here's my question.
They captured that somehow.
Yeah. Here's my question. If an album came out in 2005, would you classify what is happening on this album as old school hip hop?
I'm not versed in hip hop music enough to know. Like, I didn't know that was what I was listening to was considered old school hip hop until I looked at the Wikipedia and I was like, oh, okay.
Well, okay. Here's what I think they mean by that, the old school. So this, I'm trying to look at, you said that Fritz and Supervillains are given production credit, but actually I believe that Fritz only produced 1 track on the album, which is The Arrival. And I believe that Supervillains produced all the other tracks.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's what the wiki says.
Oh, okay.
Well, then I fucked up.
And so, when it says supervillains, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say this is Lavelle, because Lavelle, this is the era. If you remember, a couple records ago, we talked about how influential Lavelle was and how many records he produced. He is the Puff Daddy of this record. He has got his background vocals are on a lot of the tracks. The How High and the remix of How High are basically Lavelle tracks. You know, he puts himself first.
And we also know that he knows ABK.
Right. Yeah, they're all friends. Yeah, and Lavelle has some particular, and the reason why I can tell, or I feel like it's Lavelle, is because there's some signature things that he does in his production. One is the vocals. And so if you listen to a track, like actually the vocals, you can even hear Lavelle's influence, I think, because it's something that happens across the whole record, is the way that the vocals are. You can hear it really clearly on The Arrival. Mm-hmm. Almost every single track, ABK, or for both rappers, they record 2 separate tracks of the rap. And then they put it like 75% of one take in the right ear and 25 in the left. And then the other take the opposite, right? So you're getting like most of one take in your right ear and most of a separate take in your left ear. And it's really weird to hear it like that to me, because it sounds like there's 2 ABKs, you know, one on each side of me talking to me, and 2 Blazes. And it's not like Twisted does, where they basically do the exact same delivery of the verse. In a lot of these tracks, they'll do one where they'll try to like pull their voice up higher when they're doing it and do a little bit lower. Like they're not really, you know, they're just kind of like pushing it. And so it makes it feel really weird. But anyways, it's something that they don't do on other, as far as I know, they don't do on other tracks. And it's something that Lavelle, I think, really likes to do. And then the other thing, which is the old school thing, is the use of old school synthesizers. So he plugs in a lot of new tweaky, I think that's part of his production style, is this kind of like plunky drop in, lots of different changes of sounds and things. But there's often underlaid some old 80s synth, some like John Carpenter fucking wah, you know, I don't know any of those synths, but I've been listening to a lot of like synthwave and a lot of John Carpenter shit, you know, and those are the same instruments. Like he's using those same instruments. You know, it's the sound that's meant to emulate that era and using those old tools.
All right, I buy it.
Which personally I think is probably the cool, if there's anything cool about this record, that's probably the coolest thing. I really like a lot of the production, and I like the inclusion of that stuff, because I've been listening to that type of music, and so I like hearing those instruments, and so it was cool to hear it in this context.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, this is another album like Colton Grundy, where it's like, sure, it's fine, but like, who cares? that was that was my main experience with this.
I gotta say that I feel like it's like unexceptional. Right? Just like...
Yeah, you're right.
Just not... I mean, there's a couple of good tracks on here. Actually, there's 1 or 2 tracks that I actually really, really like. But I was actually kind of disappointed, because I thought when you said to you it was like Colton Grundy, to me it's like Colton Grundy because it's like an alternate personality. This isn't like Hatchet Warrior ABK. This is like whatever his real name is. Him, the guy ABK, you know, and it's not
like Hatchet Snorier,
and it's not really Blaze You Dead Homie. It's like the drive-by version of Blaze, you know. And even I don't know, I haven't listened to too much Blaze at this point. But we've listened to like all of his stuff up to this point, and he's usually pretty versatile with his delivery style, and he tends to like on this record. I feel like he's doing a lot of really like falsetto and. Just an unusual, you know, it's like he's doing another character. So he's got the Colton Grundy character and the Blaze You Dead Homie character and the drive-by character talking about 90s shit. And then I was like, I'm not interested.
It's just like, this is very clearly something that they wanted to do. And so like, good for them. And like, also like, I feel like maybe maybe artists don't appreciate enough like what they were able to do on Psychopathic Records, because like it seems like everyone just got to do whatever the fuck they wanted to do all the time.
Yeah.
As an outsider, as a layman.
Have an idea and do it. Yeah.
Yeah, fucking go nuts, man. Who cares? What are we gonna do? Not put out an album?
Okay, but there are a couple tracks on this record that I really like, and the first one is Black Khakis. This like gotta be the number one track for me.
Khakis and white ponies, and when you stop a bitch, you see acting phony. All black khakis with my white ponies on. Right there. Step aside and move along. All black khakis with my white ponies on. Right there.
It's the one that I'll listen to, that I will come back to. The only one.
The only one.
Yeah. Well, and it's totally because of the chorus. It's, the Boys in the Hood it's their drive-by. So you got the Boys in the Hood reference. I don't even know what these other gangsta and all that. And in the chorus, they sing about their all black khakis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What are the other type of black khakis that aren't all black?
With like the stripes on the side.
I was wondering, why didn't they call them Dickies?
Maybe they wear Ben Davis.
Yeah. Holy shit. Maybe they wear
khaki,
Walmart
but Ben Davis is
khakis.
like, I for one, I always thought khaki was more of a color. I didn't know that was a type of pant. And if it is
a color.
Pant, yeah, okay. And I was just gonna say, because I would never consider Ben Davis a type of khaki, even like well, because khakis are just khakis, but I don't know. I picture I just picture Dickies more than I would picture Ben Davis. I mean, although you pleat Ben Davis as well as you would Dickies, and cuff them, but they're just a completely different material. I mean, they're more denim.
No one's gonna tell Steve shit about work clothes.
No. Well, the reason why that was my favorite song is because I nearly dress identical to them.
Yeah.
Except instead of a white t-shirt, I wear a solid black t-shirt.
Well, you got your white ponies on?
And I don't have white ponies. I have black chucks. But
it should be noted that black khakis and chucks are the Psychopathic Writers uniform.
Mm-hmm.
Psychopathic Writers have also said all black khakis, but they say all black khakis with the chucks. And of course, what Steve does not do is the plaid shirt with only the top button.
No, just solid black t-shirt.
Yeah.
I stopped doing that. Yeah, no plaid shirts. No. What are those called? Pendletons.
Yeah.
No Pendletons. I used to have an awesome red Pendleton.
I don't know what
it was just too gangsta. Pendletons are the real cholo where you had actual khakis.
Oh, that's the shirt? Oh,
yeah, it's the
pants.
shirt. And the real Pendletons are wool. And they can be very, very uncomfortable. But when you have a wool one and you got it all starched out, shit. Like I read stories where some gangsties got shot at wearing that stuff with little 22s, and it
would bounce right off that shit.
It did.
Fucking starched and pressed.
Starched and pressed, and didn't even bust through. No, I don't know. I love pants and chucks and stuff like that. It's
yeah.
The way I wear it, I try not to, steal from cholo culture.
Mm-hmm.
Try not to appropriate it, so it looks a little different on me, so I don't look like I'm totally ripping off cholo culture, but I kind of am.
Well, I think the long hair and the fact that you're like very nearly a ginger probably keeps you in the clear.
I think so too, and the fact that I don't pleat them and stuff like that, and they're fitted. I mean, well, I'm a chunky guy, so I mean they're not like skin tight, but they're also not like size 40s hanging off my butt.
You gotta give the people what they want.
Dead ass.
I pants sack because I never got to run.
I I recently read the history of the Homies collectible figures. It's very fascinating. There's a lot I didn't know about this. Yeah. Well, they're still.
You know who loves Homies is the homie Jiggles.
Oh.
He's a big Homies fan. What's up, Jiggles?
Homie collector.
So what's up with Homies, man? What's the scoop?
Well, they started in Lowrider magazine. Guy who created it was a comic strip in Lowrider magazine about this guy. I think the character's name was Hollywood, and was just super popular. And he or someone close to him came up with the idea of like, oh, we should make little toys based on the people in this comic strip, and like he made a whole universe out of them. And of course there was the controversy where they were briefly pulled from stores because some fucking white lady or something somewhere, some Karen somewhere was like, these glorify gangsters. And they have like a website where like every homie in the series has like an extensive backstory like written by like the creator, and like he made sure that like every single homie has like a positive attribute like that's like an admirable quality to like try and make like Latino role model, like Latino and Chicano role models for like people. And yeah, I guess like there was like a video game, and like I don't know if there was an animated series. I don't remember that, but like Homies were a lot more widespread than I realized. And like apparently like so many fucking people were buying these Homies out of the vending machines that they were doing some like crazy ass like amount of money like every month, like, which is like wild to me to think about. Like, it's wild to me to think about like that anyone makes money off of vending machine shit at all.
I was gonna say that's a lot of fucking quarters.
Cash upon machines, like like you think about like, oh, like the company that like stocks these or whatever at the grocery store, or like the grocery store itself. Like I don't know if I ever really thought about it before, but it's like my base assumption is like, oh, I guess like there's a company that like runs these vending machines, and they like buy this shit in bulk, and then like maybe they'll make a couple bucks when they come around like every couple weeks or whatever to like get all the quarters from the people who bought the Cool Cat sticker or whatever, like who the fuck knows. But I guess if you are lucky enough to create Homies, there's a lot of money in it.
Yeah, man, those are so popular. Everybody was collecting those shits.
Everyone had some. Talking about Road Dogs of Mine.
Well,
speaking of,
so that's Pony Down Prelude. Sorry.
Well, I was gonna say, I'm gonna deviate a tiny bit from what you guys had to say. I really like this album.
Oh, good.
I thoroughly enjoyed listening to it. I unfortunately did not get to listen to this album as many times as I'd want to for an assignment. So I don't have very many pass-throughs. I mean, I've got my notes and I listened, but I really enjoyed it. There was one song that I don't like this song. And then everything else, I mean, I will admit, because of only hearing it one time through, some of the songs blend together to me. So I need to listen to it, and I'm definitely going to listen to it some more. But like I'm not going to go into like major details, but just like with some of these songs, I was like writing notes, like the simplicity of the music with the way they're flowing, like it's like less is more in some of these songs. And I really appreciated how it was coming across. I felt like some of the beats and like the way they were rapping over the beats, it made it sound really like it was like made of liquid or it was fluid. And I just really enjoyed it. It was like a super mellow album. And I don't know if that was just something I kind of needed to hear. And it was like a perfect assignment for me.
Nice.
Because it was super mellow. There wasn't anything in the lyrics that really ever popped out to me being like, ugh, either. I mean, there was gangster stuff and there was getting high and everything was just like, that's cool. Except for like the one, what was the song I didn't like? Probably not the She's Out There. That was the song I was like,
Where's she at? Where's she at? You didn't like it?
But but yeah, I there were, there's a lot of songs that would be very good weed smoking songs, obviously.
Mhm.
And it's been a little bit of time now since I've done that, and it's not something I'm going to do anymore. And so it was interesting to listen to this and kind of like live a little bit. It was neat because I was kind of like vicariously, I remember what being high is like, obviously. And I would be like the way the music, it puts you there mentally without actually having to consume. And I appreciated that. And I think that was something that used to happen to me before I'd smoked pot and listened to music that sang about smoking pot. But I didn't quite put it together. Like it didn't quite put me in that space because I didn't know what that space was like. And now I know what that space is like. And so I appreciated this music again for that as well. And it didn't necessarily make me think, oh man, I got to go get blazing high listening to this. I was just like, this is nice. It puts me in the mood, and then the song passes, and then it's done, and it's cool, and then I'm not high. So, I like this album, and I actually really look forward to listening to it again. I don't know how many times I'll get to because I'm not really. I mean, when we're not doing assignments, I mainly only listen to classical music, so I don't know how many times I'm like really gonna bust this out, but I want to. So.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right on. Like it is a very chill album. It's very mellow and laid back, and there's nothing like exceptionally problematic about it. It's absolutely not horrorcore. They're accomplishing everything that they're intending to do. Again, talk like we talked about with Colton Grundy and a couple other albums. Like they're nailing what they're trying to do, and that's cool. And like it's totally like decent music. Like it's good. Like it's solid. There is nothing wrong with this album, but it's not. There's nothing about this album that grabs me where I'm like, I would like to listen to this I would like to listen to this in my free time instead of like any other music. Like that's it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But I totally understand it, and like it's definitely a cool vibe, and like if there's this specific vibe that I wanted to capture, like this is the album for it. But I just don't like, for me it's just like this isn't my preferred chill out music.
That's exactly how I feel, Bill.
And I get that. I totally get that. One of the things that I liked about it as well is just it was another side of these guys that you don't get to hear or see, and they're very talented at it. And so it was neat to see them be talented at something else as well, even if it is something that you're not going to really want to go back to. It was still, it was refreshing to me. I was like, fuck, these guys are talented. These guys,
I'm starting to think they're talented.
Yeah, these guys got chops. These guys can do things.
Speaking of seeing, getting to see a glimpse of something that you don't normally see, the remix of This High, the last track on both versions of the EP, basically is a supervillains track. It stars all the supervillains who are allowed to rap, and it's good and it's fun, and it offers a glimpse of like, man, what if the supervillains just made an album that they weren't trying to be hateful and gross?
Right.
It might have sounded a little something like this. Like I laughed at something the supervillain said, like talking about getting so high I keep shitting on myself. Like that's just funny, man. Like fuck, dude. That like, and it made me it bummed me out all over again about like
oh yeah,
what, like, man, we could have had a fun album. Instead, we got something that's fucking like gross and embarrassing. You know, I'm not talking about Pony.
Yeah, man. There's no bone worse than the bone you give yourself.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
Guys, I think that this is the first weed song that I don't like. Actually, the remix of This High I like a lot more than the
remix is fine.
Yeah, I think the remix is fine. I enjoy listening to the remix. It's very,
Also, like,
it's very long.
I am forgetting right now, but like, are Blaze and ABK on the remix? Because I don't, in my brain, they're not. It's just the remix is they put someone else on the album.
Yeah,
Are
that's
they?
kind of why I feel like, it's like Lavelle kind of put himself up out there. But I think it's something that they must love. I just read so much into it every time we listen to all these records. I feel like they it's something that's important to them, and they all came up listening to this music together. They obviously have a love for the 90s, and I think the fact that when I feel like they're pulling from different styles is like tribute to those people that that music that they liked
Yeah, for sure.
during that time. And so when you have the means, probably when they were kids is when they wanted to be rappers, and now they're old enough and they're like, well, shit, let's make the record that we would have made back then,
Well, yeah, because like they didn't get like they didn't really give the chance, which is like partly a success story of like, because like the first several ICP releases that ever came out are like them just like homaging like everything that they left, like paying homages to like all these like crazy like Midwest and like Detroit rappers that like very few people outside of those places have heard of. And so like they like ICP already got to do this, as opposed to like when all these bands got on Psychopathic, they were all like needing to do a specific thing. So like, yeah, it's very cool that they get to play out basically anything that they get to play out.
Yeah.
Smoke weed every day.
And I think I listened to this record, I don't know, 6 or 7 times all the way through. And I did definitely have fun listening to it,
Mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong with this album. And hey, look at us talking about it. I was honestly worried about this episode, like going in where I was like, yeah, I don't know what to say, man. I guess I'll just talk about homies.
There's one thing we haven't mentioned yet.
Oh.
It's the fucking whistle, man. The fucking whistle. Oh, I couldn't hate it more. By the time whistle actually came, the track whistle, like the third track, oh my God, I wanted to claw my ears out with the fucking whistle. And then finally, Pony Down comes on.
With me pimping, come correct with your limping. Read between the lines and then you see what I be thinking. Wake up on it with that bullshit. Wake up on it with that bullshit.
I mean, like, oh, thank God there's no fucking whistle. It's like,
Well, at first I started thinking, is this another like Monoxide where the songs are all out of order?
Yeah.
And then I was like, wait, no, they're whistling on every song, so okay.
it's just all whistles.
I mean,
Yeah.
we can't rule out that it might be a psyop. Yeah, so one thing that I like to do, I listen to most stuff on Apple Music because I have an Apple Music subscription and it beats the shit out of Spotify. I like to take a look when I listen to the album, like there are tracks that are starred, which is like they're starred by like people who listen to an album will like the community that listens to an album, like everyone who listens to Apple Music, like there will be a star next to like the tracks that are either I don't know how the star generates, but they're the most popular tracks, whether that be like the most listened to tracks or the highest, like the tracks that most people like heart or whatever, like when you like look at shit in your iTunes thing and there's a little like meter on one end that you're like, oh, interesting. I never do anything with this. So the starred tracks on this EP were, Hear Us Comin', which isn't a song, Whistle and Pony Down. So, those are the tracks that are most recommended by iTunes. Yeah.
Well, that's unfortunate because I thought Whistle was terrible. Pony Down I like though.
Yeah, Pony Down's good. I mean, I think The Arrival's better than Whistle for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, yeah. I love the production on The Arrival.
So tell on your suits that we hear the bass knocking in your system and it's coming through so clear. Me and my partner, we roll tight like green leaves. We hustle for our cheese and we You heard me screaming it for years, now it's in your fingertips.
But
Prince did a great job
maybe
on
people
that.
just like novelty, Ryan.
Hmm.
There's a reason why novelty songs are popular.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because they come with a prize inside.
Have you guys seen that movie The Night Comes for Us?
It's that
On it-
porn?
No, but that's nice of the night.
No, it's a movie on Netflix.
What's it about?
Um,
A horror movie?
no, it's kind of like it's a Chinese film, but it's modern. So there's a lot of kung fu, but a lot of gunfights, and it's like Chinese triad gangs, but like in Indonesian countries, and so it's very, very interesting, and it's a very good movie. It's very, very violent, and I was actually kind of shocked at how violent it was and realistic the violence was. And I don't normally like stuff like that, but this movie was pretty damn amazing. It blew my mind, so I just wanted to throw that out there before I forgot.
Awesome.
It's a made for Netflix movie.
Sweet,
Really
I'll check it out.
recommend it.
My recommendation is if anyone hasn't watched Cobra Kai yet, fucking watch Cobra Kai.
Is it good? I
Oh my
hated
God.
the Karate Kid, but
If you hated the Karate Kid, I don't know how much you will like it, but I think it's really good. Ryan, have you watched it?
How do you not like the Karate Kid, Steve?
I don't
because
know.
growing up, I was bullied.
That's
a lot.
where that's the correct question.
Growing up, I was bullied a lot when I was watching that. Like, I was having a hard time and like with being bullied, and I was like learning karate and beating up your bullies doesn't actually happen, and then it happens like in a fucking stupid karate tournament, and I was like, that makes it even less real. So it just felt really fake, and I hated it because I was just like being tormented like the character without ever getting the payoff of.
In that case, Steve, I think you might fucking love Cobra Kai.
I think you might like Cobra Kai.
Yeah, dude. Like, for me, Karate Kid was like an absolutely massive part of my childhood. Like, I fucking, like, most days of my childhood were spent watching either Karate Kid 1 or 2. So, like, I was obsessed with Karate Kid. So on that level, like, I've never seen, like, an expansion of a universe that is, like, so interested in, like, not only being as faithful and respectful of the characters in the universe, but also like interested in making the universe a better place.
Dude, can you fucking imagine how stoked William Zabka is?
Yes.
Has this dude not had come full circle to have probably the best fucking life that any person could ever have? The stardom in the 80s, a fucking sex symbol god in a fucking huge movie, right? A fucking iconic movie of a generation. Disappears, right? One hit wonder.
Shit, but yeah.
Well, he's in Back to School, which is one of my favorite movies. I love Back to School.
Yeah.
And William Zabka's great in that.
Yeah, I will check it out. I had a bunch of kung fu movies all lined up in my queue, but I feel like a lot of those that I had are disappearing. So I don't know where a lot of the Chinese movies are going on Netflix, which is a bummer because I was getting down on some of that shit. I have 12 Monkeys in my queue on my HBO. I'm looking really forward to watching that.
You've seen it, right?
Oh, God, yes. I have it on VHS.
I was like,
still.
Jesus, Steve.
Yeah, no, I have it on VHS. I just haven't been able to watch it in years because I have it on VHS. But I still own the tape. Oh, God, I fucking love that movie.
Maybe
$5,000.
Probably Bruce Willis's best movie.
I would have to agree.
Are you also Divergent, friend? I fucking love 12 Monkeys.
So good.
Madeline Stowe. She's Costa Rican.
What?
Yeah.
Ow.
That's what women look like in Costa Rica. They all look like Madeline Stowe. They wear jeans and high heels.
Oh. Well, that was Punny Down Prelude, so thanks for joining us for that, guys. Next week, we're going to be talking about Forgotten Freshness Volume 4. So we're back on our Insane Clown Posse bullshit. Forgotten Freshness Volume 4, I think I may have listened to it once. Maybe not. But the first track, the first disc is 2 discs again, because that's what Forgotten Freshness was. The first disc is actually a shit ton of like released for the first time on this, and then some alternate takes, some scrapped stuff. And then the second disc is all of the Hallowicked singles that had been released up to that point. So I don't know how much of the Hallowicked disc we're going to get into, but we don't have to worry about that for a few weeks, because next week we're talking about disc 1. We're going to do the first 5 tracks. So there's an intro, there's The People, which is an original track, Clown Walk, original track, If I Was King, original track, and Dear ICP, which was scrapped from Ringmaster. So really interesting stuff coming up next week, guys. We're back to ICP for the first time in maybe forever. I don't know if we've ever talked about ICP before on this.
Yes, not this year.
Yeah. So welcome to 2021 ICP. We're going to listen to some stuff you made in 2005 and like 95 or whatever. So that's it. Forgotten Freshness Volume 4. First 5 tracks we will talk about next time. Thanks to everybody for listening. We appreciate you hanging in there with us while we took some time off. We're glad Steve is doing well, and we love you. And follow us on Instagram and Twitter at DimCarnival. Send us emails at dimcarnival@gmail.com. Let us know what we forgot about Pony Down or didn't know about Pony Down. Let us know which homies figures you're still looking for. Let us know how you like Cobra Kai. And tell us Kung Fu movie recommendations. Thanks to everybody. Until next time, I'm Bill.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Ryan.
And Google Hot Babes. See what happens. I just got a picture of Babe.
That'll do, pig.
Pig, yeah.